All right, so we are going into some quadricep and TFL that deals with lower back discomfort. So we tend to sit way too much as humans, and so our quadriceps and our hip flexors get really, really tight. And then that's pulling us forward and pulling on our back. And then our back reacts by tightening up. And then we think, oh, let's stretch the back. And we might get temporary relief, but then it kind of comes back. And sometimes even with a vengeance. So what's happening is as this is too tight and pulling us forward and this is stretching out, the body at some point has to put on the brakes. If it doesn't put on the brakes, you'll keep getting pulled forward, 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 forward until you're walking at a 90-degree angle, which is not good. So when you get that spasm back here, it's because this is too tight. Your belly, your quadriceps, your hip flexors. So we're going to do a couple things. Some of you might know I was paralyzed partially after a back surgery. And so I am very familiar with back pain and have been in back pain so bad that I've been on morphine. Okay, so I am kind of an expert at back pain. I know what it feels like and I know how we try to avoid it. But this has controlled any twinge of back pain for me for 8 going on 9 years now. And that's after years and years and years of it going out, and I haven't had to go out since I learned these techniques. So let's start. We're going to start above the knees. We're going to do the first part of the quadriceps, then more the middle part, and we'll be doing both at once. And then we'll shift over and do the other little spot that is really, really the key to the lower back. It's all tied together, but let's start just above our knees, forearms. Okay. Your toes should be on the floor. If they're up here in the air, that's a big indicator that there's a lot of tension and tightness. So try to relax them down, and let's iron out that first couple inches. Iron out that first couple inches. Good. Stop the roller just above the knees, and let's start to pretend we're in the water. Kick, 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 and let's kick and move through those first couple inches. And yes, you might be thinking, this is very painful. It will get better. And once you realize that you can control other discomfort that you couldn't control before, it kind of becomes worth it. So nice, floppy, relaxed feet. Good. Let's swish back and forth. Swish back and forth. Good. Let's settle into what you would deem the worst or best spot in that area, the most uncomfortable or the biggest knot. Try to get right on that spot. Let's take a couple breaths and relax. And then let's bend one leg, keeping the foot relaxed, and lengthen out. And the other side, keep your foot relaxed and lengthen out. And again, and if you have spots that are slightly different lengths, if you need to slightly roll to shift to get to the spot better, that's fine. You don't have to hold completely still. Good. So now we're going to transition up to more the middle of the thigh. So the next 4 or 5 inches. And if there's a little crossover, that's totally fine because it tends to be a pretty bad area anyway. Good. And let's kick and move, keeping your feet relaxed. Imagine being in a nice warm pool and you're swimming across to grab a fancy beverage. Maybe you're in some tropical island. Good, let's relax. And let's switch side to side. So I like to use 2 different techniques. Sometimes I use a switch side to side, which I like to call mermaid, or open and close like little jumping jacks, which if you have a short roller, the jumping jack might feel like not really confident with that move because you might feel like your legs are going to roll off. So I find jumping jacks better on a longer roller. Good, and let's find the worst or best spot. Gotta fix my mat a little bit here. In that section, get right on it. And let's do that slow leg bend. Keep your foot relaxed and let it go out slow. So one thing sometimes we see here is that it'll be shaking on the way up to, oh, and then when you go to let it out, it whips down. Those again would be big indications of major tightness in your front line. And I can tell you, once you start to resolve that, you'll stand taller. You'll have more energy because you won't be fighting yourself. And I hear that from people all the time. They're like, oh, I just don't have the energy I used to anymore. And I often say, I think I disagree with you. I think you probably have the energy. You're just wasting it fighting your body because it's out of balance. It would be like driving your car and having a trailer full of like rocks in it and not knowing it was there and wondering why you're getting such poor gas mileage. Same idea. People always say, I have so much more energy. I'm standing up taller. My back pain is better or gone. So many things. All right, let's go ahead and push back. We are going to go to the little spot, TFL, tensor fascial latte. There's little ways to pronounce that, but I might have butchered it, might have not. But it's a little spot like right in here. It's not directly in the center. It's not directly on the side. It's in between. And often I say, if you imagine putting your hands in your pockets, or had some change in your pockets, about where that change would lie or the bottom of your fingers would be, is about where we could start looking for that spot, okay? So we're gonna do one leg on, okay? The leg that's on, I'm gonna go to that elbow. The other leg is gonna come in front on the floor, okay? And this hand. So by doing one elbow and one hand, we are staying at like a 3/4 position, not on the front, not on the side, okay? And we're gonna start to roll up and down. You might feel like, oh, this is terrible. It can be, especially if you have really bad chronic back pain, if maybe you've had a really long road trip or have to sit a lot. So I want you to find the most challenging spot you can find. I want you to try to relax your leg, and it's not uncommon for a little bit of discomfort to shoot down into your knee because the tension, TFL controls tension for the IT band, which goes down and through your knee. Let's keep our foot relaxed, and this is where you might have a challenge. So sometimes you feel like, I can't bend my leg, and it's just like shaking. And extend out. Keep your foot relaxed, try not to fight it. Try to breathe deep into the belly. Sometimes I call this the swear spot because often it makes you want to swear. Go ahead and relax the leg out, soften the foot. Maybe take a little wiggle side to side, up and down. If you feel like you have another spot, you can get on that and do a couple more bends. Good. All right, so let's come off. And if you want, you can stand up. Just sitting here, I feel like this leg's more flexible, but sometimes standing up, walking around, often I'll describe it as it feels like someone like hollowed out my hip, like scooped everything out of there and it's just kind of free and mobile. That's what I notice. You might notice if you try to squat that it feels like you can sit that leg back. So there's a lot of little things that you can kind of test out and see the difference. But let's do the other side so we're not crooked. So let's put that other leg, elbow, front leg on the floor, and the hand. Okay, so we're at that 3/4, not on the outside, not on the front, just that kind of in-between spot. Which, by the way, I will note here that a lot of times I see people, when we used to go out in public to gyms and see people, I would see people doing the side, like trying to foam roll here, and I do not advocate rolling right on the IT band. Okay, there's much better things to do. It's just not necessary, and it's not productive. It's not functional. This little guy, though, controls the tension for the IT band, and there's some other techniques I would do with the IT band if I'm working with someone one-on-one. and if I identified that there was an issue that needed to be corrected. So see if you can take a little wiggle side to side. Find that worst / best spot, depending on if you're a glass half empty or glass half full. Relax your knee, and let's try that bend. And trying to get a nice sweep. Sometimes I kind of move my leg around a little bit when I bend. I just think it's so important for you to get to know your muscles, how they work, what moves when you do certain things. Oh, I got a big knot right there. I'm going to stay on there for a second, really. When you find a big knot where it literally feels like a knot, sometimes just a great technique is just to get right on it, take deep breaths, and see if you can get that knot to melt about 50%. I'm going to do a couple more bends on it. More is not better on these techniques. I would rather have you do a couple minutes in the morning and a couple minutes at night than try to go, I'm going to get on there and do it for an hour. Okay. Don't overdo the rolling. So we've just spent about 10 minutes on the quadriceps and the TFL, and that's plenty. Okay. All right, let's come up and see how that feels. And this time I will stand up and adjust this. So what do you notice? Okay. Often I'll notice like, I don't feel like I'm fighting myself standing. Or if you do a squat, probably like you can just push the hips back. Some people would notice here, like if you're someone who's like, I can't get my foot, sometimes you're like, wow, oh my goodness, I can get there. So there might be other things that you notice. You might notice things throughout the day today. You might notice that stairs are easier, that you run faster, or just in general, things have changed. So be aware and pay attention. Look for things like, oh, that's interesting. Make note of it so that you can notice what things really work for you and what things don't. So that is all for today. So that is the series for releasing tension in the quadriceps, hip flexors, and relieving that pressure on the lower back. So have a wonderful rest of the day.